We'll go ahead and get started here in the interest of time. Before I pass it over to Nick Biondi and our presenter, Brian, today, I'd like to just go over a few housekeeping procedures. Firstly, we are recording this session. So if you ever need to refer back to it or want to share it with some of your colleagues who aren't able to join this morning, it will be available on our YouTube channel later this week. If and when you're not asking a question or discussing anything, please stay on mute so there isn't any background noise interrupting the presentation. There is one button on all of your screens I'd like you all to avoid hitting. It's a little rectangle with an up arrow. That's your share screen button. Please do not click that, as that will interrupt Brian's presentation. If you have a question, you can either unmute yourself and jump right in, put it in the chat, or raise your hand, and we'll prompt Brian as needed. If there's any technical issues, put those into the chat, and I'll do my best to help you through those. Just be aware that most of the time those stem from your own Wi-Fi connections. And finally, if anyone's dialed in via telephone today, please send me an email at mfrey@pgahq.com so we can get you your PDR credits. With that, I'll turn it over to Nick for introductions.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. So, Brian, here we go, man. Brian Manzella's remarkable journey in golf instruction breaks the mold. Once a football standout, he earned a golf scholarship to the University of New Orleans, where he captained the team. At just 20, he revitalized New Orleans City Park Junior program, transforming it into a nationally recognized success. Driven by a quest for the truth about the golf swing, Manzella became a GSED of the golfing machine under the mentorship of legendary instructor, Mr. Ben Doyle. After leaving TGM due to its outdated approaches, Brian and Michael Jacobs established Project 1.68, launching significant golf science symposia in the U.S., the renowned Anti-Summits. Through collaborating with esteemed golf scientist Dr. Stephen Nesbitt, Brian helped develop Jacobs 3D, where he currently serves as the Director of Instruction. In 2015, he opened his Manzella Certified program to global instructors, now with over 150 worldwide. His unique teaching philosophy simplifies swing complexities using humor and personalized swing patterns, emphasizing individual differences. A 36-year PGA member, he's received Teacher of the Year honors in Kentucky and the Gulf States, and is ranked 14th in Golf Digest 2024-2025 Top 50 Teachers list. Manzella's insights are featured extensively in major golf publications, including significant cover stories. An early TrackMan master and undoubtedly a top 5 expert on teaching with the device, he was an early champion of the D-plane, dragging the golf world out of the ball flight laws era. Manzella has taught and presented in 23 states and 17 countries, including a very well-received presentation at the 2025 National PGA Teaching and Coaching Summit. The only thing he likes more than a good debate is coaching up beginners and golf teachers alike. I'm proud to introduce my mentor and friend, Brian Manzella. Brian, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Dick. And on that, the newest, as you pat me on the back too much, the TrackMan has a new sleep thing that I can't find in their software. So I need a little help. If somebody can help me if this thing does this to me again. Glad to be here with all of you folks and a lot of friends. And we're gonna have some fun today. I just have a couple of little things I want to show, and we can just start with free-flowing questions pretty much right away. The one thing that I would say about golf instruction right now that I think is sort of alarming is the insistence of a certain look, right? That did not exist. And I would say, we're 12 years into the TrackMan era. And what I had hoped, and I think a few other folks that were early adopters like myself hoped, is that you could have more individuality. And I think you're seeing some of that, but not necessarily on social media, right? And one of the things that I have in here, I don't have all of them turned on, but I have 3 different iterations of JC Video. Why do I have three? In other words, on three different computers, I have three sets of two cameras. What JC Video will take maybe 8. Definitely will take 4. Why don't I have them on the same computer? Because I want them to play in succession, right? I got a down the line face on. You'll see in a second. That is the first thing that my students look at in here in the studio, and I'll look at in the studio, and then the overhead and upper right corner videos play. And then when I get really cute, I have a camera that, if you kind of extended an imaginary plane up into the 12-foot ceiling, it's back there, and then a booty view camera that's hiding here somewhere for all the lefties in the world. So one of the things that I get to do, like at this point in time, a lot of what people find me, maybe just started searching golf instruction on the internet, they find me because of the Jacobs 3D stuff, which basically, what is Jacobs 3D? It's a software that Stephen Nesbitt wrote under Michael Jacobs's direction that helps the teacher figure out what the student actually did to move the club. Or it might not be student, it might just be a pal or a son or a daughter or themselves. I've certainly tested myself a lot, and it's the forces and torques that the golfer applies to the golf club. But every day in golf instruction, all of you folks and me use a lot of kinematics, which is just positional stuff. And a lot of those kinematics we get, maybe not from 3D, even though a lot of 3D is now on the phone, even though it may need a little work. We get it from video. Everybody's got a very good 240 frame a second camera in their pocket that would have cost just 20 years ago about $5,000. Just the camera part. You wouldn't be able to text your buddy about how much Manzella was disappointing today. Okay, so here's my pet peeve. I want to start things off with. I'm going to hit a shot. I tried to warm up for about 10 seconds. And I'm going to try to make a backswing where I do something I sort of prefer with the club. And then we're going to look at it from a couple different angles. And I think it'll shock you, but here we go. Wish me luck here. I might shank this. Haven't hit 10 balls in 4 days. See. Okay, so I'm just going to let them play here. Y'all can't see it. I just want to make sure it looks proper. Okay, let's see. I'm going to find out real quick, and then I'll go. Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, so let me apologize for the running around here. My remote stuff is not quite working. So let's see. We're going to go, camera number 5. I got a bunch of things in there. Okay, so going to turn off. We'll just put this up right here. We can leave the force plate stuff off, even though I don't have it synced perfectly yet. All right. So there's the top of a backswing. I sort of like this position. Okay, I wouldn't say that's perfect. I think my grip's not quite strong enough there, so I have to kind of go a little bit too much toward flexion to get the club face where I want it. But it's okay, right? It's okay. It looks kind of like a short Jack Nicklaus. Not that he's that much taller than me in his prime. Certainly, by the time he was 63, almost 64, he was about my height. He's shorter than me now. So anyway, here's the point. Most people on the internet would call that across the line, right? And when I started teaching 43 years ago, this would have been considered neutral because it kind of looked like it was pointing at the target. In my youth, that was across the line and that was laid off, right? And obviously pieces and parts of that. Okay, so now, forgive me while I squint and pull up this other angle. Remember what this looks like here. We're going to go to camera 6. Okay, I'm sure y'all see that. And then I'm going to operate that little button and show these other two angles. And then here is the actual top of the backswing. And trust me, every one of these damn lines you see in here, my plate I'm standing on, my real field mat, everything's damn square, or it drives me crazy. As you could probably tell, I'm obsessive compulsive. That's laid off, but it doesn't look like that from that down the line view. So there's a whole bunch of people teaching people to look a certain way on video. And what I'll do is I'll just go back to 5 here, leave that on, and walk over there so I can demonstrate. All right. So I'll put the there we go. Okay. So that position right there is where I just was, and this club's actually pointing somewhat, very slightly laid off. Now you could say it's not laid off because, well, I haven't gotten to parallel. You can make that point too, right? But this is the position that the internet wants you to do. And what folks need to understand about the way the golf club works in 3D space is when you turn the club and your arms toward laid off, that's considerably more open than if it's neutral, and ridiculously more open if it was actually across the line, right? So you got a whirl of people out there that we teach who are slicers, and folks are trying to get them not to slice it by way of arching their wrists. I've done a lot of it too, and laying the club off. And I'm here to start with the fact that I think that's a disaster as an industry. Most people would be better off with a neutral to slightly across the line top of the backswing. And I've taught everything that is humanly possible to fix people's slices. And I've been good at it almost since day one, which means there's a lot of ways you can get the job done. But at the end of the day, you might want to look into where that club's pointing at the top of the swing. Now, before I take questions on this first little few minutes here, I want to add this. Then imagine what they're telling you is that you're gonna arch your wrist more in a downswing and flatten the 2D look of the shaft. That's more open. So you twisted the club to close it, maybe. Okay, I'm gonna show you that in a second. You twisted it, but your intention was to twist on it to close it, but then you tried to lay it down, and the laying it down, it opened it. So it's one of those things where if somebody's club face is ridiculously open, there's TrackMan turning off for a second. If somebody's club face is ridiculously open, I understand it, that any kind of shaft twist is going to help them some, but people need to understand this thing that the golfing machine called the left arm flying wedge, which is basically if you just attached a imaginary line to the, you can see from a couple different angles here with this on. And if this is more closed, that's more open. It's pretty easy to see with this. Any questions on that first jumping up and down on the modern golf instruction? Come on now. I swear I ain't giving one more second of information to somebody asks a question or something about that. I'll sit here. Okay, yes, sir. Who's speaking? Eric Campbell. Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Jump in after you.
Good to see you.
Ryan, great to see you as well. Thanks for doing this. How often are you seeing, for people that are trying to shallow the shaft, how often are you seeing a flattening of the shoulder plane to produce that?
Oh, we're seeing everything. So I would say that the height, the peak of the lay down praise was probably like 2 to 4 years ago. One thing about getting a little bit older is the years get compressed, and you think something that was a year ago was 3 years ago. But somewhere in the 2 to 4 years ago range, they would come to see me, or they would go to see Mike Jacobs at Rock Hill, and Mike would get them on the system, and we would see just bizarre things that they were doing with their hand. In other words, they were trying to do the look by ways that were not. I'm not picking on the instructors who teach this. Some of them can buy and sell me into slavery, probably. But the point is that they weren't doing what they were taught to do to get the look. They were just getting the look by hook or crook, basically. And one of those hooks or crooks is if I stood here and I tried to do this, you see, and do the little sit and spin, all of a sudden my shoulders, as I make this move, as Eric pointed out, last thing in the world you want to do is flatten your shoulders in transition. I can promise you that, because you're not going to hit them. You're not going to hit it from here. So, and then you see strange, if I'm on the JC video, it's sound activated. So that's why I've gone away, because I slammed that little Y Golf product in the bag too loud. So yeah, that's one thing that, and that's a disaster too, right? So if you were just trying to build backwards somebody who, swung a little bit from the inside and had the club face not open, the last thing in the world, if you didn't know anything about golf, you were just trying to engineer a way for somebody to curve the ball the opposite way, the last thing in the world you would do is lay the club off. Now, there are some methodologies out there that teach everybody to try to hit a right to left shot who like shafts that look kind of laid off. But to me, that's more because it's more open, and they teach 10 different things that make the ball go right to left, or make the path go to the right and the face be close to the path, obviously, if they're teaching everybody to draw it. And they need a couple of things in there to keep the ball from hooking off the face of the planet. and then that's, at the end of the day, it all has to be sort of like balanced out to make the ball go at the target. But I would say the average player probably shouldn't try to do it. And here's one that I don't think I've said this at all online, because I've been working on a project for the whole year, a golf teaching business thing. And but I prefer the wrist to be cupped at the top, some amount of extension for let's just say somebody who isn't a career slicer and they're a new golfer, or they need a lesson, right? They've never been taught, grip and setup and then top of the backswing and the finish. They don't even really know that. I would prefer not only the club to be between their arms at the top, but the wrist to be slightly an extension. Because when I got my first hack motion about, I was like customer number one, I can promise you that even the people who look like they're not going into extension, it's really hard to hold a position in golf. If you look at graphs of any kind, they all very common. They kind of look like this. So you're riding these waves when you make a golf swing. And one of the kind of normal, I see all kind of patterns on their website. God bless whoever came up with them. But I'm going to tell you the most common pattern that I would have somebody do. Let's see here. I'll put on my little fake hanger. It's actually a knockoff, and I like it just as good as the real product. I feel bad about that, because I'm sure that gentleman who made the real product would like more money. But basically, So I'm in extension now. I see people. These are the very best swings now. These are just like, man, look, if I could just get everybody to swing like that, Ludwig Goldberg, right? All right. So it'll kind of flatten out a little bit by mid backswing, and as they go around the corner here to the top, it'll come out of being flat. In other words, go toward extension. Then it'll go back toward flat. It'll go probably maximum flexion right here, start coming out of flexion, and depending on club head speed, either completely come out of flexion, maybe even go a little into extension, or have some flexion left. You can see what that did to the forward lean, and then it comes out of that through the ball. That's what I see the swing, the best swings do. That's what my swing does if I hit a perfect shot for little old me, or I get anybody else to do it too. So when I started realizing that maybe even I taught too much laid off at the top, and I got people in more of a what I would feel like is a neutral top of the backswing position, you started seeing, well, you're better off if you start trying to get the club to curve more. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I did my. If anybody in the whole world had the assignment that they needed to be quiet when they did a presentation so that they didn't inadvertently set off the video in this particular screen, I'm the worst person. So let's see if I can make a representative swing here. What I'll do is I'll get a little further away from my down the line camera, because that's what we're going to look at right here. Let's see. God bless me. It'd been nice if I would have hit it on the face. But okay. Definitely not as good as that other one. I'll pull the other one up, but anyway, let's look at this one. Okay, so this, I'll make this bigger. And what I'm going to do is a real primitive. I'm not going to waste any of our time here doing anything that's too complicated, but I'm going to make a trace. Went backwards. Sorry. Okay, let's see here. I could just hand draw it, but it's a little bit better if I use this tool. Okay. For whatever reason today, we'll just do it by hand. It will be very primitive. So what I like to see is this club, and let's just say I did a better job of drawing, reach its furthest end point, right? The furthest it gets toward that mosaic wall right there before it reaches its high point right here. So it's curving, and then it has what my dear friend Rick Dandy called the down track. That's this track this club head's taken on the way down here. I'm gonna get rid of those last two lines. This part right here. I like to see the down track go somewhere between the crown of the head and the shoulder, with the neck being ideal. So listen, I just don't really like this one because my arm's up a little bit too much. But the point is, this thing curved the whole way back. Okay. And then if you make a good downswing for a variety of reasons, it'll kind of come out a little bit lower, and it'll kind of take the shape of a duck head or a Nike swoosh, or what I call the sickle. So this would be what I would think everybody would be trying to get anybody to do if they were just like, giving a lesson to, I don't know, Alvin Kamara, and if he never played golf. I know he started playing. He didn't take lessons from me, so God bless him. But hopefully he went to somebody like Lights or somebody. But this curving backswing cannot happen, will not happen, unless you're Nadia Comaneci. There, I just dated myself. Simone Biles would be better. Flexible. if you make this takeaway. Well, I'm going to show you right here. And now I see a guy, he's got a device, and the device is like this, right? And he's going, and this part's curved, so it's kind of like this. And he's going, look at my takeaway. Look how good my takeaway looks. Let me tell you, folks, unless you're trying to teach Kenny Perry, who, by the way, was a famous drawer of the ball. I realize I made noise again. Unless you're trying to teach Kenny Perry or Bobby Locke to hit a fade, which, you know, they need it every now and then, this insistence in modern golf instruction, at least this takeaway, no good. This club severely out the hands, takeaway, no good. Why? Because, well, you got two choices from here. You can either go Matt Wolf, and then you'll never be able to hit a pitch shot on the green, or what most people do is they'll put the club behind them and it'll flop the other way. So it'll look something like this. And then you'll see this too when people are trying to make something that looks like a hey, this tool's working. There we go. It's going like this thing is going, it's curving the opposite way, right? It's going like this to try to get the look of laid off. Okay? So this is not what you want right here. Unless you're trying to hit some sort of weird fade or just make the swing look like there's a loop in it or whatever. But it's this is an epidemic. I would say, you know, like I try to look at golf instruction two ways, right? There's the person in front of me, and they're all different, right? We're all different. And then there's like the greater good, right? Of the whole world of golf, supposedly including people who never played outside. They just play in a simulator like this, 148 million golfers. So you got to look at it that way sometimes, especially if it's going to be a philosophy that you use in your teaching. If you go like Bewitched, you see all these references, I got to come up with something to Harry Potter, and you had a magic wand. And everybody in golf, no matter where their takeaway is, had the club more in because their chest turned more, not more in because they rotated their arm like this. But wherever they are, let's say they're right on their hands, and then you just said, okay, they'll have the club more in because at this point in time, their chest was more turned. Lowers the world handicap. If you get everybody to do this, like that poor gentleman with the device, I don't know what you get. I think it helps some people. I think getting the club head really up early and outside the hands helps Mr. Faversham, the gentleman in Caddyshack. That's a peach, because he can just sort of drop it on the ball because he's got the lift here, and then he doesn't have any strength to make a downswing, so he can just drop it on the ball. And by the way, that was 6.3 degrees outside in, right? So it's one of those things where, do you really want folks to make a swing that does all this? Now, before we take questions on this secondary-ish topic, I'm going to try to lay this club down and show you from two angles something I've noticed about the people who actually look like they're doing it. Just got to turn on this other view here because you need the overhead to really see this. Let's see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to try to go some kind of normal backswing, but a little bit laid off. And I'm going to try to go like that. Probably won't do it, but it might take me a couple swings because I really don't like it, right? I see how this one looks on video. I think I can do better. I think I can exaggerate it. I can exaggerate it a little bit more. Anybody got any tips for looking ridiculous? Okay, here we go. Okay. Again, I'm not saying everybody who has this look who can beat me is doing what I'm going to show you here. I'm just saying that a decent amount of them are. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go camera 3, pull this up. So it looks like, right? This is what it looks like. It looks like I make a backswing and the club gets on a certain angle. And then I flatten the shaft. What it looks like I'm doing. Right, on the downswing, and then I hit the ball. Right? Properly, if that's a word, how to hit the ball. But if we look at this from overhead, okay, number 6. Yeah, we're seeing 6. But we can pull up the overhead and the 3/4 over here. I started noticing people who were doing this are more or less doing it at the end of the backswing. It just looks from down the line. If you look at this here, that club's still going backwards. Club's doing all it's laying down. It hadn't gone forward. Now it's going forward, and maybe it has 1 more percent. So it's sort of a card trick a lot of times, and it's unfortunate because it isn't going anywhere. People sort of like things they can't have, like club head lag when they have 85-mile-an-hour driver swing speed and 200-yard 7-iron shots when they have 70-mile-an-hour 7-iron speed. But at the end of the day, okay, questions on that little piece right there while I clean the screen. Y'all still there? I mean, what the heck? let me change the view one more time. Let's go. Who's got the first question? Nick, shake up these guys and gals.
I've got a question, Brian, about what do you see when you have that lay down move, the secondary one that you showed, and the pressures in the feet? Like, what happens to the pressure when the people are trying to lay that thing down?
A variety of things. I mean, you start. Let me do it with 2 hands because that influences everything too.
Right.
But you start seeing like crazy movements toward the heel, like this.
Yeah.
You see some, like what you'll see some early move to the left at the end of whatever this is. Like I said, it might be backswing. Sometimes it looks like downswing, and then they'll have to go back to the right pressure wise before they can hit the ball.
Yeah, before they start going forward. And then another.
So it's just to talk about having just a pressure plate or mat or whatever. Like even if you're not a big ground reaction force guy, it's just one more like little bitty test to a golf swing. Boy, this golf swing looks pretty good. Like everybody was like a junior instructor. No offense by that. I was one. I started when I was 20. I knew nothing. I had a really good eye and I could teach anybody to do anything, but I didn't know anything. I just could kind of make it work. And then you get a little smarter and you run into Ben Doyle and here you are. But at the end of the day, what most folks remind me the question, Nick, because I have a good one on this.
Where's the pressure normally go in the feet?
If somebody's making a swing and they're doing a pretty good job of it, and you don't know where to look, but it's just not working, the pressure trace will generally be crap. Just will.
Right.
In other words, it's just you basically got 3 things here. You're attached to the ground. You can't move your mass center without an external force. Gravity's working the whole time anyway. So you have to just to move your mass center, wherever mine is with this extended gut, you have to do something at the ground. Okay. So
Right.
you need to look to see at least the basic movement at the ground. And then you've got, your force and torque you're applying to the club. And then the club is doing something that TrackMan does a damn good job of measuring to the ball. And what you'll see in general is folks don't do a really good job of just a normal move to the right, move to the left. I like shaking things up, and I was trying to get myself like in mode for this morning. So what I did last night is that there's this, I think it was Instagram. Somebody asked me where did I see it. I think it was Instagram post that a prominent instructor said that the first thing that moves in the golf swing is the club head. I think this is kind of strange because the only people that I see that the first thing that moves is the club head are really bad players. This person is 95%, maybe more than that, only known to whoever knows who he is. There's a lot of people, mostly because he works with tour players. So for him to say that, I thought that was kind of out there. He's seen all the 3D in the world, you would think. And so I put a McElroy graphic up on all my socials. And it's obvious he makes a little move to the right before the club moves. And generally what I teach people to do, everybody knows, everybody who's on this group here today in Google Meet knows that it's a lot easier to make a backswing if you start the club over here. Right? It's a lot why? Because you step on the right leg, you shift your hips away from the target a little bit, you lead with your stomach, you don't whip the club around too much, and the club's got a little bit more momentum going back, which you can use, pumping into the system. And that's what I try to teach people to do. I say, hey, what I want you to do in a perfect world is I want you to, after you've, maybe waggled, is I like a move off the right foot. I call it a right foot pop. I got black shoes on today. I almost never wear black shoes anymore. And it disappears on this mat, but I'll get here and you can see it just as good. I try to get people to literally pick their foot off the ground ever so slightly just to learn what it feels like to not be frozen there. Pick that foot off the ground barely. I always say if you had somebody with fast hands, they could pull a scorecard out. Pick that foot off the ground. So what's going to be the first thing that's going to happen? That pressure is going to run hard to the right, not 50-50. And then followed by maybe some hip movement. I like seeing this hip. This is another thing that bothers the crud out of me here. Let's have a little fun here. Blowing people up just for practice. We go to, let's see, since we were talking about him before, Rory. Okay, so we'll zoom in. Made him a lefty. That's not a good idea. Make this bigger. And we'll just do a simple line right on his left, right on the outside of his left leg, right? Just right up against the, and here he is, moving away. He creates space here. I'll zoom in for the folks that might be on a phone or something like that. He not only does he move before the club head moves, but he creates space right here. And if you go to my X account where most of my stuff is, I've got like an all-star team all the way back to Harry Vardon of people who created this space. And what you're going to see in general, move this back to normal, is the best players always did it. If you watch little kids, and that's how I got my start, like Nick was reading the bio there. I got start teaching little kids with snotty noses and the mama with the little sister in a baby carriage, and they never had a golf club in their hand before. And the mom said, well, this is something I don't have to watch this little ragamuffin here for 2 hours. Just let this little Italian boy do it. So, you see a lot of stuff like you never saw before playing regular golf. These are babies, right? And let me hit this shot real quick here to get this thing off of the Zoom without me walking away from y'all again. Don't hold me to this swing now. We were talking about demonstration swings. That wasn't even, for the record, if this thing lives forever on YouTube, that would just be resetting the video. But little kids will, in general, if you've taught enough of them, take a step to the right. So they'll get off of their right foot and then they'll step to the right. So that's kind of, I always did it because the only thing I was any good at in football was making people miss and running down passes thrown toward me. So that to me was normal. All the African American good players who without them I don't become a golf pro. They were the only people that took a liking to me. All the white people wanted me to go away. They went, hey pro, you got that little thing you do with your right foot. Like I thought it was bad. I didn't want to have a thing. It turns out it's a good thing, right? So if you teach people to move the club head first and then move the arms and then that's one way to do it. But if you taught everybody in the world today, all right, all you folks with all this movement here, like Harry Vardon and Rory McIlroy, you're going to do the club head first, and then you're also going to keep your hips. I'm seeing this crazy drill over and over now where people are putting like something on their left hip up against a wall, and they're going, oh, look at how good this looks. God bless those people. So I like movement, and I like early movement, and I don't like laid off. Bowed wrists are very, very, very last resort, horrible slicer. Go ahead and get them to twist the club closed. But I want to show you one thing, and then we're going to take nothing but questions. One thing about I've done 2 social media posts on this, and they were largely ignored because I don't think anybody knew what the hell I was talking about. I don't think it's that hard a concept, but here we go. Okay, we've got the Jacob 3D airplane here. So if I spin the shaft, it's going to be damn obvious I'm spinning the shaft. Okay, so watch this. I can go from relatively, I'm trying to put this where you can see it, relatively neutral wrist. I can spin the shaft and move toward flexion. And I can also do something with my elbow, move toward flexion and not spin the shaft. You understand? You can have your arm in a position that changes the wrist angle and not do. Everybody thinks every degree of moving toward flexion is going to spin this shaft. And the same thing goes for extension. Yeah, I can twist the club open by going into extension, but I can also go into extension by, doing something in the swing that makes my wrist cup. So this is another, like, it's always 1 degree of this and 1 degree of that, and just to be true to the folks who had me do this and shut up at 45 and take questions. One more thing, I saw a post last night by somebody I used to know, and he was talking about club face control, and then he asked 2 prominent instructors about club face control. What can you do to get club face control? I just want everybody to know I'm the idiot who coined the term club face control because I didn't know enough, and I thought the difference between David Toms hitting a golf ball and me hitting a golf ball was club face control. After having given David Toms 5,000 hours of lessons in the last almost 40 years, I can tell you this. Club face control is not the answer to golf. The answer to golf is basically the arc of the swing, or you want to call it the path down here, fine. Arc control with the right body positioning, you'll get club face control out. It's more path and body positioning control that gives you club face control than, oh, you just have good hands. I got some damn good hands, and David can still get me 4 or 5 aside. So it's just not that. Club face control is the single most overrated thing in the whole wide world, unless the poor person, right, has the club looking like that at the top of the swing. You can't get the ball in the air, or looking like this at the top of the swing, and every shot he's ever hit, including sand wedges, sliced 20 yards. Okay, there's my soapbox. Questions? Right on time. Again, I hear silence in the background.
No,
Oh, good.
Phil Davis here. I got a quick question. So
Yes, yes, sir.
I think that this is great. I've never been fortunate enough to see stuff from up above. Very, very insightful. So I love these techniques. So
this angle is underrated right here. This one that's, like when you were seeing the other view, right? You had the overhead, and then you had this up here in the corner. You'd be very surprised, especially this one. If you've got somebody that has a little strange transition and you can't fix it, and you got an overhead camera, like, for a while I had the 3 views. I had the overhead camera. Well, I had the booty view. I don't really count it, but the overhead view, the face on, the down line, and we would be working the whole. I got a guy that comes in for 3 hours, who hits 350 balls, and we're always trying to make his transition better. Long story. But the point is, until I got this camera, he thought, and I thought, that's a pretty good one, Mark. But it really wasn't. So I highly recommend, this is relatively inexpensive to do, right? JC Video or iPhones and some other program. Go ahead, please continue.
yeah. So well, I think I've done some things wrong over my 20 years now watching that angle, but I want to talk about talent level and athletic ability in some of these things. I mean, wonderful, but I have Mrs. Haverkamp, and she doesn't have any sort of flexibility. What are some things that, so a lot of us deal with people that are, just looking to improve a little bit.
Yes.
So how do you approach somebody that maybe has low talent level but a high excitement for the golf swing and improving?
Right. Well, some of the things that I teach people that sort of they almost need permission if they've ever taken a golf lesson anyplace else in that category, right? They want to go out and play golf with their friends and shoot a decent score, right? So I play on what we call the Nunez Tour, right? It's about 25 guys. They all grew up in the same county. We call them parishes here in Louisiana. Who cares, right? And there's not one single hacker in the group. And if you added up all the official golf lessons I've given the whole group, it wouldn't be 4 hours. Okay, so they get better for 2. Why does nobody suck? Well, they get sort of a free lesson if they're playing with me and they're doing something terrible. Okay, yeah, but I mean, that might just be 2 or 3 minutes. But they're playing with somebody that can play. See? So the first thing I would recommend to the struggling recreational golfer is, listen, if you put up, play fast, you show up and you keep up like a good caddy directive, and you don't take 40 minutes over the ball, you know where your ball is, you clap for everybody and try hard and never whine and bitch about stuff on the golf course, and you're friendly, you're probably going to get to play golf with people way better than you. And because you're playing with people way better than you, you're gonna get better like that. And then if they come to see you, Phil, or me, or Greg, or Eric, or the 2 Erics, my two Eric friends, it's perfectly okay to take the club way in. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, hey, just imagine you had like a 30-degree angle here, like this. About 30, and say, okay, take the club back, and look, you can cheat your stance and your shoulders a little bit. take the club back. So at first parallel, believe it or not, just parallel. See, it doesn't look parallel, does it? It is, I mean, perfectly parallel, and it looks funky. So overhead looks parallel, right? So, okay, get it parallel here, point it on that line, which is 30 across the line, bring it back on this line. How do you do that? Don't turn too much. Swing your arms a little bit. You can have your chest closed or just facing the ball. Try to swing through that way. And then probably the most underpart thing in golf, try to get the last time that this club gets parallel to point where you want to swing. That's what swing direction or baseline or plane line, if you're a golfing machine, that's what that is. That position right there will fix more people than you think. And then the other thing is like I said before about just lifting the club straight up. Some of these folks can't really, right? They don't have any, right? So the predominant force in the golf swing is the golfer with their body and their arms pulling along the long axis of the shaft. I got a graphic on X, some major champion, don't even know who it is, because we got, a few of them in the system. And it's like the amount of force and torques, the three forces, three torques broken down the way we do it in alpha, beta, gamma. It's by far the strongest thing when I'm swinging the club. But there'll come a day where this right here, I'm going to go see my mom today. She's 95. You know what those people's number one activity is? In their wheelchair that most of them never get out of except to go to the bathroom and to go to bed. They're all really good at using their feet to kind of crawl walk the wheelchairs around the facility. Just saying, those people, the ones who can still stand up and play, are not turning like Rory 700 degrees a second. So if you can just get some elevation and get them to just drop the club on the ball, there's nothing wrong with that. But back and forth swinging and trying to get to the right foot, hit the ground, then get to the left foot, hit the ground, and try to build on that and get them to get some motion in the swing and let them bend their elbows all they want. And then what happens a lot of times is I'm a big grip person. I know I didn't talk about grip at all, but some of them lose I don't know if it's the muscular, this is the Jacobs thing. He goes and cuts dead people up for practice. They can't do a normal grip anymore, so they wind up with a really weak left-hand grip. You can accommodate the weak left-hand grip because to get the down, they're probably going to have the left path anyway. It's just, there's a bunch of things that you can do with regular people and older people and less talented people that will 100% work that is not going to be in any Instagram video. So just give yourself I'm looking at the wrong face on. Give yourself the ability to, or the permission to do some of this non-conventional stuff. They got a guy right now that's on all the socials, and he teaches, this is what he teaches. He teaches everybody to stand 45 degrees closed and play golf like. Again, there's people that if you did that to, they couldn't. I got the guy they called the Nunez Tour, Mark Nunez. If you leave Mark Nunez alone on a normal setup, square as Nicklaus ever was in his prime, he could swing a driver 10 degrees inside out, and it ain't getting in the air because his left wrist is flatter than anybody you've ever seen through the ball. This is a 14 handicap. Now, I know this doesn't make any sense, but just trust me on this. If you set Mark Nunez up 45 degrees, he wouldn't finish the round. And this guy could have played Major League 3 different sports. So, but this gym guy that teaches this, again, if you applied 45 degrees closed setups to the entire world of golf, and they did it for 2 weeks, the world handicap would drop. Because there's a lot of things you get for free, not just the obvious turning back stuff, but you get this pretty stable left side to swing past and make squaring the club up a lot easier. So there's something that might work for some of those folks too. Okay, who's next?
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, no problem.
Brian, it's
Come on,
Eric
Greg,
Kennedy.
you
I got
gotta
a
have a
question for you.
question. Yes, sir, Mr. Kennedy.
How are you, man?
I'm good.
I had a question about, I think you covered a little bit when you talked about people kind of dragging the shaft and over rotating through the ball and how the 45-degree setup can kind of create a little bit of a break. There's some instruction out there, and I just wanted to kind of run it through your BS meter on teaching deceleration of the lead arm, and whether hitting towels and things like that are good for getting people to brace for impact as opposed to over rotating and kind of dragging the handle.
Trying to figure out how to answer this. So
can you teach deceleration of the arms, like where they, I know the hand, like we talked a little bit about backswing hand path, but like downswing hand path and where it reaches its low point and starts to decelerate.
let's just say you came up with something between us, a pretty good group here. The absolutely worst advice. We had a contest, and then we picked one from Robert, right? And we said, okay, we all agree, right? Gripping the club with the palm facing the sky. We're going to teach everybody that. I promise you somebody's getting better. It's going to be somebody who shoots 110 that's going to shoot 97, and this is going to be the answer. Gripping the club literally, 80 degrees open. So I'm not saying that somebody doing deceleration drills isn't helping somebody by changing their muscle firing or just getting stronger or more flexible or whatever. Plyometrics or whatever. I'm sure that I got this crazy idea. Show you the ideas I get. Right down the street, there's a really decent basketball court. Like, I haven't shot a basketball in 12 years. Like, I just feel like, let me get some like $39 Nikes and just run up and down the court by myself in the morning. I think my wife will let me play by myself, and it's got to help my golf. It can't hurt this belly. I don't know if you want to tell everybody to go run up and down a basketball court, but I would say that's not what's happening. The golfers' effort to get the club head to the ball from, some sort of angle is what creates the deceleration. And that goes for all of the whole chain. It's not the decel that's causing it's the action that's causing the back react. And we have a really neat mini program. So the two main programs in Jacobs 3D is the club program and Alpha Band, which is the body program, which also has the club in it. And every now and then, Dr. Steve, as per Mike's request, he's a full-time employee at Michael, and he also has Monica Milanovic, one of Steve's proteges, who's a really good scientist as well, working on other projects. And one of the little mini programs that Dr. Steve wrote was just a 2-link model that you could just do whatever you want with. And we programmed it to apply a constant torque, at the connection of one link and the other link, the whole downswing. And it doesn't look like you think. Matter of fact, when Michael played it for me, I went, Dick Tracy, I know exactly who that is. I said, Mike, give me 30 minutes. I'm going to make your day. And I pulled up went to Roll Your Rock on YouTube. Lots of really good slow motion videos on that. I highly recommend his channel. And I found the Fred Couples, and I superimposed the 2-link model right over Couples, and they perfectly. So here's Fred Couples with his, backswing and all this angle right here. And, obviously he lines the club up. He's not a handle shover. And it was near identical. So you think Fred Couples, who best thing he could do besides play golf was throw a baseball from the outfield. He was like world class when he was 13 years old. You think Fred Couples was holding back his right arm throw? He was just trying to go whoosh the whole time, and he did, right? And that's so I think there may be some benefit. Not saying there won't be. Anything might work, but that's not how the things are decelerating. Good question, Eric.
Thanks, brother.
Gregory, you're sitting right there looking at me. Nice looking guy. Got your vet hat on. You got to have a question, bro. You got to come with a question. I've been looking at you for an hour.
Hey, I definitely have questions. More a comment. Really awesome awesome instruction. I got a little one here, so I don't want to do too many questions. You know what I
Oh
mean?
boy,
So
how great is
I'm,
that? How
I'm
old? How old is that?
2 months. Yeah.
Oh,
So
jeez.
yeah. So yeah, we're dealing with that right now.
Listen to Uncle Brian. Now you're going to be a good dog. You can start programming it in like Earl Woods did.
So I'm more soaking it in for sure. Earl Woods, that's a go. That's a yeah, I know that. So for the one thing that I will say, it was more I forget the guy who was just on before the last guy, but I deal with so many different skill levels. I haven't like yourself dealt with some of these PGA guys and stuff like that. And my place is actually in a 55 and older community. And so I'm usually people of different skill levels and different swing speeds, different swings, different thoughts towards golf, so I'm definitely taking what you're saying, and I've worked and I've definitely trained at a place with pressure pads and stuff like that. And I've definitely had the overhead cameras. And I would say, going back to that, like the best thing for people that have that variety of skills, I would say it is something that you actually said is a joke, or not a joke, but let me see specifically what you said. I think you were talking about face. What was it called? Hold on, sorry. You were talking about the club path. You were talking about like the club path. I feel like that's like the best thing that for a lot of my lessons, for a lot of my clients that have gotten better, is club path control, man. Like even just taking it as far as like chips, starting. I get them just doing chips, 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards. And they've seen like going down the line, and they have seen like a lot of improvements. So like again, golf is very unique. It's for everybody, has different little idiosyncrasies that they do, and us as instructors, we just got to be able to put the puzzle together.
So let me give you one, Greg, for those folks. And I've done it the other way now. I've never got to test what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
Across a bunch of people. But I've got to test the other thing that I'm going to tell you is going to lose in this contest with a bunch of people. Because in Louisville, when I was there for 12 years, I taught an adult education class for the University of Louisville. It was usually like 45 people in the class. And I'd line them all up like the Rockettes. I just saw the Rockettes. If you've never seen them, I know a lot of people think I ain't going to see no Rockettes unless my wife drags me. Well, let me just tell you, the best show of any kind I've ever seen, talking about produced. But if you taught everybody to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flat left wrist and a nice little hit it with your pivot. And that's how you taught them. And then you grew that bigger and bigger and bigger. And you took 100 people in the 55 and over community to do that. Okay. So you drew the short straw, Greg. You have to teach flat left wrist, chipping, pitching, punching, swivel punching, and finish. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna start day one. Same thing I always do. I'm gonna get them grip it and set up good, and I'm gonna teach them to go wrist only.
Okay.
Literally, not anything. Try to not shift any weight. Try to just stand there and go and wrist it. Right now, I want you to watch this wristed swing that just went 100 yards. I went one further than that. Watch this downswing here.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the deceleration? This answers Eric's question too. All I'm trying to do is flick it. I've got some speed in that left arm, and then all of a sudden, I don't have any speed in the left arm. And I can tell you, the last thing in the world I was trying to do in that shot was decelerate my left arm. But what most people would think is this would be the worst thing in the world, because all golfers, I'm saying this like I don't believe it, but because I don't. All golfers are flippers, and the worst thing you can teach anybody is to flip it. First of all, I didn't flip it. I just hit that sucker. Can't believe how far it went. 115 in the air, right? But what you're teaching them to do is use the club heads, get the kinetic energy to the club head, And if you did this first and then you said, okay, you can do this, but we're going to add a little weight shift, and then we're going to add a little arm swing, and then we're going to add a little body turn, you would, and I had those folks for a week, and you had the chip, pitch, and punch flat left wrist for a week. My guys and gals are going to beat the BP out of y'all on the golf course or TrackMan combine, anything you want. And then we're going to swap, and you're going to do the wrist the next week with the next 100, and I'm going to do the other, and you're going to beat me like a drum. So it would be pretty controversial to say that online, but y'all, this isn't online until it goes on YouTube and people make fun of me. But if they want to come, they want to come have a teach off, I'm ready. I need to start.
I heard that. I heard that.
Do we have time?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. Do we have time for one or two more questions real quick?
10:05 right now. So I don't know, whatever Matt thinks, but I there's a lot of people still engaged, so I don't really know.
I'm not going to cut people off. People can drop off if they need to. So if you're wanting to keep going,
sure. I have a few minutes, so let's take three more. Let's do that. Three more.
Brian, I've got one, Brian.
Okay.
And we've talked about this, but I want to hear you say it to the group. Your favorite camera angle to look at? Do you think it's that quarter one or the above one? What one do you like the most?
I like the down the line. People always ask me, what's the first thing I look at? I look at the overall shape of the swing. Did it go low to high? Did it go high to low? Did it go high to high?
Yeah.
And then I don't know why. I mean, I guess I got in the right profession. I can see things that happen fast, really good, naked eye. And I look at the difference between that club face and the left hand grip. So I kind of know what's going on right away by the overall shape of the swing from down the line. That's why I'm generally back there in the lessons. This is a really nice studio and it's pretty big. People ask me all the time, like, for dimensions. This is 24 in the golf hitting part, not the office part back there. 24 with a little cutout for TrackMan, 24 long, 18.6 wide. And I've got these 5 TVs on the wall right here. And if I go stand in the front, I got room to teach from the front, but not as much room as I have from down the line. I would go wider if I ever built another place, heaven forbid, as much as it costs to do this. But the point of the matter is that you're going to do a lot more good from here. There was a time in my teaching career where I was really focused on impact and what it looked like. And I was always face on. And Hank Haney, who I've agreed with very little over the years, but we're both getting older and we're agreeing a lot more. He told me and another guy 25 years ago or something at a Kentucky section, a little one-day teaching thing with him, that me and this other guy were going to realize that teaching all this so-called impact stuff, we're going to find that was overrated. One thing I'll tell the whole world I'm the greatest, and I will argue anybody about I'll take the world as flat just for fun. But I'll also say when I was wrong, Haney had that right. This stuff, this down the line stuff trumps all this face on stuff. All right, so there's number one. I said we were taking 2 more. Here we go.
Hey, Brian, sorry. Dave Zamaro from Overbrook.
Yes, sir.
Really great stuff. Just to piggyback off of Nick, is there a specific height and angle that you like for down the line? Just to share with everybody?
Yeah, so this, okay. Most people put the down the line camera somewhere between the ball, doing this so you can see the down the line, somewhere between the ball and the golfer, kind of like this. All right. And mine's this high. I don't know if this is the perfect height, but I'm starting to realize that if you really wanted to do best angle, you would figure out that most people are around 60 degrees, right? And let's just say whatever club you do most of your lessons with, 8s, 6s, 5s, 7, whatever, on the hands of impact is probably the best place to put it, both toward and away from the ball, and height. That's probably going to give you your best. If you're looking at stuff like I look at stuff, Michael Jacobs has the most complicated setup in the whole wide world and can tell you if your right butt cheek is firing at any time in the swing, and he likes it on the ball line. I can't stand it. It makes everything look funny. But the point of that is that you'll get used to whatever. For a while, I used the TrackMan camera when they wasn't also using camera and radar to see all this stuff. I used the TrackMan camera on tour with David Toms for the down the line view. You start realizing you again, and I give Andy Plummer credit for this. Any angle's okay as long as you know what it does. But I would have it about club head high. Hands high at impact from both angles, obviously face on, and down the line. That's what I would do. It gives you the least amount of, because you more or less you're going to see something real quick here. Let me, if y'all don't mind, I'll just tap one out here. Okay, so now just a basic swing. This is just a freebie here. All right, if you draw a box from about where the weight is on your feet to the ball, and then you draw another box about the same size. Come on, you sucker. See, sometimes I do it and it works out good, and sometimes I do it and it doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna just eyeball it. Okay, stop. Okay. I draw another box the same right here. Close enough, right? You're gonna find that from a good camera angle, that those hands are gonna be really close to this line. See, I'm really close to the I'm really, like, just because I'm doing this thing for y'all, I'm set up a little bit different than I normally teach. This club head and hands are way closer in reality to this middle line than they look from this distance away. The further you can get your down the line camera away, the better. You see this position? I promise you, if I'm just on the same line, 5 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet closer to the screen, that club head is on this line. So you see, parallax will drive you half crazy in 2D, and that's just something, And in general, if you draw those lines and you're the right distance away, I like the club on the middle line here, touching this line when it gets deep, back on the middle line here at the top of the swing. Makes for a really good conventional backswing. Okay, one last question here for the gang.
Brian, Brian, you haven't really mentioned any markerless 3D. You use that at all?
So, okay. So, good question. So, this technology, this idea of capturing something from, maybe a couple of cameras. You're going to have to kind of use a couple of cameras. People are telling you can do it with one. A couple of cameras, and you could be iPhones, an iPad, an iPhone, whatever, and then calling it an idea. The technology, I'm trying to not give away things, but to be able to do that at some point here in the next 3 years reasonably well with just a couple of iPhones or something like it, right, is coming. It's not here yet. It's coming. And I know a big player in golf instruction equipment that's got some very exciting stuff coming up. Can't talk about that. And they're doing it a way that I think there's other ways to do it. So this is something that the world is going by, it's going into, to be able to take a 2D environment and make it 3D. And this is going to get better and better and better. And I think that, the products that are out there, XView, Sportsbox, the Smart Motion to Coach or whatever, I think they're all probably pretty decent. If you use them all the time, you'll see some stuff and you'll get some correlations, and you'll be able to teach off of that. and then all of those products plus all the ones that are being developed right now, and one I just mentioned that probably you'll see at the show is that the bar is just going to keep going up, and it's going to really help the world of golf, because just little things like I started with, right? Just, oh, the club really isn't. Look at this from the overhead view. It's pointing over there. Oh, Mr. Fabersham, you don't have to change your backswing. It turns out you're not across the line. And since Eric asked that question, one more question from somebody new, and then we'll call it a day. Got to play the Jeopardy theme in the background. Come on now, one more question of any kind. Could be about, what would I buy if I had $10,000 or $10? What would I buy next? No questions. Okay, I'll ask myself this question then. I got a lot of stuff back here, right? And sometimes it's really neat, but I'm installing new. Got a podcast coming. Can't tell you, me and another guy. Can't tell you who it is. It'll be good. So all this equipment, like I had equipment, but now we're me and this guy having the same kind of equipment. All right, here's a couple of freebies. Number one, if you build a golf studio, listen to this now. Number one, if you build a golf studio from scratch, or if you tear out a garage and do it, right? Well, first thing you do is you put conduit everywhere. And I don't mean like this big. I mean like as big as a gutter. Put it everywhere. Because you know what would happen if it was everywhere? So I want to hook up this iPhone with this Ethernet for this product thing I was teasing. And and there it is. And it's connected to Ethernet. I got to run along the wall and hide behind trash, basically. Just other training aids and stuff. But that's not the right way to do it. What I should be able to do is go over there on the office side, open up a little box and go, or maybe do it with fish tape and run it across the room in like 30 seconds. Instead, I'm going to have to hire an electrician to crawl in the cut, drill. Well, it's going to be like $250 to run an Ethernet cable. So the first thing I would do if I was building a golf studio, before you close up walls or put netting or whatever, that's the first thing I would do. The second thing you have to do before you buy anything, I don't give a damn if you don't own one device, one projector, you're hitting balls in a net and they can't see anything, and you don't have anything to tell them where the ball would have went if the net wasn't there, and you don't have a screen or anything else, is buy some good lights. See how, that bad word, shitty I look? This is like $3,500 worth of lighting. Imagine how bad I'd look if I had like $100 worth of lighting. Get that right, even if you have to hire somebody in that business, because you're going to be shooting video in this room and teaching people how to move their club and body around, and the better lighting, the better. And then you can start spending money on devices and training aids and all that good stuff. I sure appreciate the Philly section. It's the Philly section, right? That's the correct terminology.
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, the Philly section, man, would love to come up and do a teaching summit where I could talk longer and jump up and down more. But I really enjoyed the group, great group, and good to see some of my old friends like Hanley and Kennedy, and I talk to Nick all the time. So I met a couple new guys, Greg and all, and anybody can call me anytime, 502-417-GOLF, 502-417-GOLF. I don't have the phone. I'm not avoiding you. I'm doing something. I will get to you. Just leave a message or text me, or BrianManzalaGolf.com, and be watching for that podcast. It's going to hit everybody like Joe Frazier.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much, Brian. It was great.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you, Matt,
Brian. That
so
was
much.
awesome.
And happy holidays to everybody.
You too.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.